All right. Good evening, ambassadors. Welcome to our Tuesday night training. Jesse Macpherson coming at you live here from Manila, Philippines, here on a beautiful Wednesday, September 4th for me. I know it's September 3rd for you guys over there in the States, unless you're joining me from somewhere over here in Asia. Welcome to our Tuesday night training. Welcome to our first Tuesday training here of September. And it is a glorious month because it's my birthday month. So we had a great celebration here this weekend, September 1st. So it's Virgo season. So it is time to get organized and planned and make stuff happen and probably be a perfectionist and overcritical. That's depending depending on what side of the Virgo traits that you exhibit. But for those of you that are brand new to the family, as an ambassador here, we want to welcome you to the Viago family. We're so excited to welcome you as we are in our pre-launch here, 50 days away. Man, the days are coming quick here. 50 days away from our official launch in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hence the background. I am not floating in the sky in Las Vegas. I am here in Manila. But one of the important things that we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of is this event that is coming up here is really going to be something it's very difficult for me to describe in words how important this event is going to be toward not just the launch of our company, but for the launch of your future here. And so many of us that came here are going, look, what's the purpose of coming here? And we all have our reasons why, but for many of us, it's to be able to live a better quality of life. And that is the people we associate with. That's the time that we spend. It's the things that we learn. It's also the income that we generate, and I've heard it said a lot of times that money isn't important. And I'm like, well, kinda. So, and I think Jim Rohn says, well, it's not, maybe it's not the most important thing in the world, but it ranks right up there with oxygen, so it's a little bit difficult to describe. And people say, well, money isn't everything. And I do agree with that. Money is not everything, but it is a thing. It is a thing, and it determines a lot. It determines a lot of things, like good example, it will determine a lot of times where your kids can go to school, the freedoms you have, the ability to be able to be home with your kids, to be able to be present with them during those special moments. It's one of those things where for sure, I can tell you that money dictates a lot of things that make life a little bit simpler in a lot of areas. Okay. Now, it doesn't free us up from the things that happen in our lives, but we want people to have that freedom and flexibility to make the choices that are their own, make something where you get to choose. And that was the thing that I wanted. I didn't want anyone to have their thumb over me, pressing me of when I had to do something, when I had to show up, where it was like, okay, I wanted the control of my destiny. And you can do that here with the type of work and launching Viago. So we're going to get into today. We've been on a journey over these last couple of weeks. I've just been, normally you're not seeing me back to back on trainings like this. We have a lot of other guest trainers that are coming on, but we're kind of just continuing a conversation that we've been having for the last couple of weeks. And so because of that, I wanted to be on here again with you guys. And we started 2 weeks ago with the kind of exposure process of getting somebody in the exposure process and getting them in play of taking a look at the Viago membership, taking a look at the Viago opportunity, taking a look at our pre-launch. So that way you can understand the whole sorting, not convincing. We're not here begging, we are looking for our lookers, and we're looking through that deck to find those aces and that process that it's going to take. Then last week, we talked a lot about using third party and really the power of third party and how third party is the best party, and ain't no party like a third party, remember? And understanding how, when you have other people that can give validation or confirmation for the information and be that testimonial for you, whether it's a fellow ambassador or someone a part of your support team or someone that you meet, these are things that are very important in today's times to be able to introduce a third party into the mix of the exposure process. Now, today, one of the things we wanted to jump into is when you are following up with people, and we always talked about fortune is in the follow-up, the next piece of that element is you're going to run into some people that need to be asked a follow-up question or a closing question, which then in lead is going to turn into a lot of times what these things called objections. How many of you have gotten one of those before in your life, right? So now sometimes those objections are just nice ways of being rejected. So some of them are different ways of politely saying no or not interested. But we want to talk about some of those here today, give you guys some tools to be able to kind of be equipped to do this, but then also understanding when is the time where I'm not trying to convince somebody, I'm really needing to be moving on, because sometimes people ask me, well, what do I do when they say I'm not interested and I don't want to do this, Nothing. Now I'm exaggerating slightly, but I do get that. It's like, well, it's almost kind of like someone saying, how do I convince somebody who is not interested? And the answer is don't. That's not, they say a man or a woman convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. And even if you strong arm somebody into doing something, usually the experience is not going to be good for you or for them. If I got to convince you that this is the opportunity of a lifetime for you to, depart with a couple $100 with the value that you get for it, then chances are either number one is that this is just definitely not for you, or I need to do a better job of conveying the value. I need to be a better messenger of the message of what it is that we provide. So we're going to dive into that here today. So like I said, today is going to be a juicy training as we get into it. But before we get into it, I wanted to make sure we get you a few things here that I think are very, very, very important in terms of where we're going, what we're doing, and what we're building into. So first off, okay, we have on our website, teamsynergyagents.com. We've got a lot of the details and information that you're looking for. I'm super excited for us as we launch into Viago. You're going to see a huge update for this. We changed some color schemes on this, but you're going to see some incredibly updated systems here for our team, which we're very excited about, and resources, because we are moving on from our previous resources from Secret Direct and and building everything of new assets, new material for the launch of Viago. So you will see that here as things are starting to shift and change over on our websites, and we'll give you guys updates on that. Okay. Now, next thing is we just finished an incredible recruiting contest for the month of August, which was absolutely incredible. But you got points, and top 10 were getting on stage and recognition. And I want to say a big shout out to holding the #1 spot, which was none other than Mr. Eric Grisbowski. I think some of those things are going to be announced here tomorrow. And you're going to see the top 10 list that is going to go out on the cash and the prizes and all that kind of stuff. And there's an official announcement coming from corporate tomorrow, but I text Eddie and I said, hey, can I announce this tonight? And he was like, fine. So good news, ambassadors. We are rinse, recycle, and repeating this for the month of September. That is right. Officially live. You heard it first here that the pre-launch triple play promotion is happening for the entire month of September. So if you've already signed people up starting from the 1st, you're already got points for the contest here. So what does that mean? The top 10 people in the month of September with the most points are crossing the stage at our launch event in Vegas. This is a big deal. Now, the cash is also great, but I'm telling you, you know what's more valuable than the cash? Having this testimonial, the story, the picture of you on stage, the video of you on stage at the launch event for Viago that you will forever have an opportunity to share as you're going out there with as you're launching Viago. This is going to be huge. So you want to fight to get your booty into the top 10 as whatever you got to do to get this thing done. Now, of course, top 5 get prizes, right? You got 200, 400, 750, 1,500, and 3,000 in cash. And you can double and triple that based on 20 or 30 points for the month. But every single one of you is going, okay, how do I get in the top 10? Get into the top 10. That short-term money is great, but that picture is going to make you a lot of money from you crossing the stage and having that as your social proof for the people going, how's that business working? Well, I was recognized on stage as one of the top 10 people in the company, we launched in Las Vegas. So now some of those people will be interested. And for the other ones, you just be like, what? Suck it. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Sorry. I know sometimes, you just want to be like that, right? So, how many of you guys know those people and they have something snarky to say and you just want to be like, whatever. I digress. Let's move on. I need to read another personal development book. So regional events this weekend, as we are heading into our September regionals on Saturday, this is going to be the kind of the launch cornerstone of heading into our October event. So wherever you are, get on a plane, get on a bus, get on a car. Probably, I used to say hitchhike, probably don't do that. One of the things is whatever you got to do by any means necessary to get to one of these local regional events, because there's some big announcements coming. So our president, Mr. Eddie Head, is wrapping up some things here. There's some huge stuff that's coming on September 7th that is going to be kind of laying the foundation and the direction as we head into our official launch while we have 50 days left in our pre-launch here. There's also going to be some incredible specials and stuff that we're going to give you guys heads up about. Also at this event, we're going to give you guys the details on a lot of the things happening at the launch event in Vegas that are going to be able to prepare you for that. So some of these things I might get in trouble, so I'm trying not to get myself ahead of it. We did some amazing planning and production calls today for you guys, but Atlanta, Bloomington, Akron, Concord, Chicago, the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. It is not the Department of Motor Vehicles. We've got Newark, Oklahoma, Phoenix, San Antonio, and Tampa. So we've got some events coming up here. Don't miss the Friday night events. There's Friday night events happening in a lot of these markets on Friday in different areas, whether it's a meet and greet, a social, a opportunity, a presentation, to meet the trainers. There's lots of them that are happening in your markets. So let's get into those as well. And then, of course, heading into this a couple weeks from now, we've got Milan in Europe, which is our pre-launch event for Viago in Europe, heading into the official launch, the Americas here in Vegas, right? So can't wait to see you guys there. I'm chomping at the bit, 50 days away. We've got some very lofty goals for ourselves personally, and 51 days. I think I just saw the snapshot is going down now under 50. So let's make sure we get you there. Here is a tentative agenda for everything. Make sure you guys understand, Thursday, we have our 50 squared and above leadership meeting. And then after, we're going to be having some very special things for Thursday night. You're going to hear about that on Saturday. Friday, we've got Club Fit. We've got awesome stuff. We've got our breakout from 10 to noon on maximizing your Viago membership. And then we've got our Ambassador Day fun. Saturday, you'll hear more about this. And then on Friday night, we're going to have our Inner Circle party. I will tell you one thing before you hear about the theme on Saturday is get your gowns ready, get your suit and tie ready, because we are going to be glitz and glam. It is going to be a star-studded event. Probably already said too much, but Saturday you'll get more details around that for our Inner Circle party on Friday night. Then we got Sunday is our convention, and then Sunday night our neon costume themed party, Neon Nights, which is going to be incredible. So I know many of you guys are going to show up and show out, and then Monday our community day, which we'll get some more details for you guys as well ahead of time. Now, for those of you guys, obviously, I'm so excited for our Bali reward escape trip. I know many of you guys are coming with me on this stuff. Keep in mind here that there is going to be a cutoff here. I think it's mid-September is the last chance for you guys to be able to book this. So it's a couple of weeks out. So make sure that you get on here. If we need to get more rooms, I can probably, but we need to know like immediately. So I know many of you have said, I'm going, but you're not on the list when they sent it to me of going, which means you haven't booked yet. So make sure, go get your rooms booked for this event. It is going to be incredible, guys. I'm throwing everything in this thing. So just to let you guys know, many of you guys are showing up, may or may not get some extra cool goodies when you come. So just saying for this one. And I'm going to ruin a lot of the surprises. Just trust me. Bali will be the first reward escape trip after the official launch of the company. Obviously, we did one in Mexico, as you guys know, but that was before many of the things that are being launched in Vegas is also going to make this an even better trip once you guys hear the announcement. So get on there, use your reward trips, and let's get into it. So let's pop into these objections and talking about it. So in the month of September, I want you to have more enrollments. I want more people to join you in the business. And now that's going to be predicated on us getting more exposure. So if you haven't listened to the 2 weeks ago, highly recommend that training. I thought there was a lot of value in there in prospecting and the mindset and mentality behind it. But let's get into objections. So I'm going to go through this. You can take some pictures. We will also give you guys this PowerPoint if you want to kind of break it down. So for my greens, I got a lot of good stuff for you here. Now, understanding objections, right? So identifying and, kind of common objections is identifying and familiarizing yourself with the most common objections, right? It's too expensive. I don't have the time. It's a pyramid scheme, things like that. These are just kind of common stuff that we hear. The two biggest things, is, I don't have the money or I don't got the time, right? These are the ones that you're going to hear probably the most when it comes to it. A lot of these are what I call knee-jerk reactions, meaning it's kind of something that someone just kind of throws out there. And a lot of times they don't even have much substance behind it. So, but I want you to understanding the difference between an objection versus an excuse. These are a little bit different and starting to identify them. Learn to differentiate between a genuine objection, a concern or hesitation, and an excuse, just a polite way of saying no. There's some people say like, oh man, I don't know if I have the time, which might sound like, man, I don't know how this would fit into my life. I don't know how I would do this because I'm so busy, right? Versus, I don't have the time, which is really, I'm just like, I'm not interested, but I don't want to just say, no, it's not for me. So start to kind of listen to this. Many of this, even though they might say the same things, it's not what they say, it's how they say it that you're going to start paying attention to. So what's a mindset shift? View objections positively. I know this sometimes for many of you guys, like objections are scary, right? So first of all, be proud of yourself because you got to an objection. Most people don't even get to objections. And what I mean by that is someone has to have seen something, generally speaking, to object, which means you did something. You got in the exposure process. And I want you to know that that is the first step of getting to a yes, is getting somebody to take a look at something. Now, we know there's going to be a lot of no's and maybes and kind ofs and sort ofs and all that kind of stuff. But be excited about that, number one. Now, there are some people that are going to give you an objection even before they even look at anything. Yes, that happens, right? So see objections as a sign of interest. They provide an opportunity to address concerns and to clarify any doubts. Now, somebody having a concern or a doubt or an objection is very normal. So I don't want you to feel like you're trying to avoid them. In fact, if the idea is to try to avoid objections your entire business career, it's unlikely you're going to find yourself building a very successful business. So learn to somewhat, embrace them. And after a period of time, I can tell you that objections become almost fun. And I know for the beginning, I remember thinking, there's no way that's true. But today, they're fun because there's like, I've kind of heard them all. In fact, I've heard it's all the same ones. There's like about a common 10 to 15, right? And then there's a few weird one-offs. And then every once in a while, I'll get one I've never heard. And it's the most enjoyable thing in the world to me because it's an objection I've never heard. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool, right? But when you know how to overcome objections or how to decide if you want to continue down the path with this person based on their objections, it's great because it's almost like, you're playing chess and you have it in checkmate and they don't even know that you've already won the game. I'm serious. It's kind of like that. It's like, here we go. So stay calm and composed. Maintain your cool. Never argue or get defensive. These are important points, right? So arguing somebody about their objection is pointless, right? So active listening, write this down. Active listening, listen fully. Let the prospect fully express their concerns before responding. Okay, right? Now, I want you to deal the difference between responding versus reacting. A reaction is like, I'm trying to get in there and I'm trying to like, let me just, like I'm not reacting, I'm responding. All right. So now my mom always told me the word responsible is the ability to respond, meaning having the ability to respond in this situation. This shows respect and allows them to address the real issue. This is also a really good one. Clarify the objection. This is a really good one, right? So ask probing questions to understand the true nature of their concern. Example, can you tell me more about worries you about the cost? Somebody says, I don't, I ain't got the money. It's like, hey, I get that. Can you tell me more about what worries you about the cost? Is it the upfront or is it the monthly or can you see how we can ask a different question and saying, instead of being like, what do you mean you don't got the money? Of course you got the money. Everybody's got the money. It's just how they choose to spend their money. Kind of get how that's probably not going to, get somebody in on that. So clarifying the objection. Empathy and relatability. Acknowledge their concern. Validate their feelings. I understand how you feel. Many others have felt the same way. So another way to say this in terms of objections is feel, felt, found. Feel, felt, found. Okay. All right. So, hey, I listen, I totally understand how you feel. I felt the same way, or I know someone that kind of felt the same way. Right. But here's what I found out. Okay. All right. Here's what I found out, and insert a story. If appropriate, share your experience or the success story of someone who had a similar objection but overcame it and the benefits from overcoming that, right? So of somebody being stuck on something going like, hey, is it going to work for me? Is it possible for me? There is a way for them to move through that. So empathy and related. Now, providing solutions. This is really where, objections come into play, and understanding that objections are simply asking better questions. That's all it is. Closing is asking a question. Overcoming objections are asking questions. So questions direct focus. So learning how to ask a better question. Now, in the beginning, some of you guys are like, I don't know what questions to ask. We're gonna go through some of those here today that are gonna help you. Now, there's not a one size fits all. I want you guys to know. I wish there was. This is exactly what you say, and this is exactly how they're gonna respond. It's just not. So, and that's the beauty of this. It's going to keep you on your toes. The one thing inside of Viago, I can promise you, our business is not boring. In fact, it's usually the opposite, because you're going to be in situations and scenarios that, you're going to be like, and I think one of the things that's always interesting about objections is like, you go out there, you do activities and you get objections. And then it's always funny. I don't know, have you guys ever experienced this by show of hands? How many of you guys, as soon as the conversation was over, you thought of exactly the right way to respond to the objection? Oh, I should have said this. Like but in the moment, it was like, you didn't you're like, oh. Like I should, and you want to call back and be like, hey, give me the objection again. And you want to look, it's all part of the process, guys. So providing solution, answer with facts, provide factual, clear, and concise response to their objections. Explain how the product service offers value that outweighs the cost, right? So these are important things. Offer alternatives. So they're hesitant about the price or time commitment, offer a different package or solution. These are different things, for them to be able to get started. Okay. Now, in this, I want you guys to understand, for those of you guys that are brand spanking new, meaning you just got started, like the ink ain't even dry, on your application, right? So I'm not expecting you to be an expert at overcoming objections. In fact, I don't even expect you to overcome objections. Your expectation is very new is to use third party, which is the training we did last week, meaning your job is to invite, is to pique interest, and then pass. Peak and pass. Peak and pass. You guys remember Ole out of the way, right? So, and the idea is, hey, what did you like best? And they go, well, I got this. I say, listen, that's a great concern, a great objection. Let me find out. And then you bring the solution, you bring the answer to the challenge, the concern, or the problem as a third party. Okay. But even though if you're brand new, I just also want you guys to understand that, over a period of time, what used to kind of be terrifying for me became something great. So redirecting the conversation, turn objections into questions, redirect objections into questions that lead to positive discussions. Okay. Here's a great one. If cost weren't an issue, would you be interested in moving forward? Hey, if cost weren't an issue, would you be interested in moving forward? Feel, felt, found technique. I already talked about this. I understand how you feel. I felt the same way initially. Here's what I found out. Feel, felt, found. Okay. It's another way. All right. Trial closing techniques. Okay. Assumptive close or an alternative close. These are some things that you can finalize with. So act as if they've already decided. Okay. So what an assumptive close would be like, hey, well, are you ready to get started? Okay. Another alternative kind of a assumptive close was that that I'm going to ask is like, that makes sense. Everything was amazing, wasn't it? Or that's exciting, isn't it? So granted, so you ready to get started today? So, right. So do you see yourself becoming an ambassador? Now, a alternative close question is where you're going to ask two questions where both are positive outcomes. So they call that alternative choice. Kind of like if, back in the day when you used to book with a travel agent, do you want window or aisle? Do they care? No. They just want you to book. If you're checking out, do you want to use cash or charge? They don't care. They just want you to pick one. They just want you to pay, right? So, and the same thing here. So, would you prefer to get started just as a member or as an ambassador? Both are great for me. So, and all of a sudden, if they say, well, what's the difference? Well, it's like, well, the ambassador is $49 once a year to get started, and you also can earn a commission now in everybody that you refer, or you can just become a member for $450 and $99 a month and get the benefits that way. So these are great techniques when it comes to this. Now, handling final hesitations, asking directly. If they're still hesitant, ask directly what's holding them back. Okay. What would you need to make you feel more comfortable moving forward? These are great things to ask. Somebody says, I need to think about it, right? So what does I need to think about it? Like I think about it might be a polite way of saying no, but I need to think about it is usually I'm trying to figure out how to do this. And that's not their job. That's our job. They say, listen, I know sometimes when people say I need to think about it, they're just politely trying to say no. I don't know if that's the case here. I'm okay with that. But if you're trying to think about it, usually it's because you have a concern or something that's holding you back from getting started. Can you share with me, what's holding you back? Or, because if you just say, I need to think about it, like, well, what do you need to think about? Like, I need to think about it, right? So is the money? Is it how I would do this or whatever it is? What would help you move forward? Okay. Now, create an urgency. Now, asking directly is this. I'll give you a alternative choice question, or a kind of a leading question, as we would call it, that helps me. If I'm like in the dark and I don't know where somebody's at, and I want to go, are they ready to join? Are they not ready to join? Like, they're not giving me a lot of the signals, that they're really interested or not. And usually the reason why is because they're like in their head, they're kind of like, they're thinking about it, right? And I'm like, well, listen, so it was on a scale of 1 to 10. This is my question. I said, look, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being totally not interested, 10 being ready to get started right now. 1 being totally not interested, 10 being ready to get started right now. Where would you find yourself on that? I'm a 7. Okay. So it lets me know where they're at, engage it a little bit. So there's no wrong answer, right? So, okay. Now, in the particular case, whatever they say, I say, okay, well, what would you need to get you to a 10? Basically, what would you need to get you to, say, to a sign up, right? So what more information? What do you need? Now, this is a chance where, again, I would say, well, listen, since right now you're at a 7, I'd say the only way to get you to a 10 is you need to see more information. So here, let me show you. And then you want to take them to the next exposure, whatever the next exposure is. So a lot of times is this, it's like, are you ready to get started? No? Great. Let's get you to the next exposure. Cool. Are you ready to get started now? No? Great. Let's get you to the next exposure. Are you ready to get started now? No? Great. Let me get you to the next exposure until you say no, or you say yes. That's the process, right? Now, I used to get really frustrated with the process, and then I just decided to get rich. And just go, that's the process, right? Why does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? I wouldn't spend much time on that. Jim Rohn would say, don't sign up for that class. It's just the way it is. Okay. Now, creating urgency. Remind them of any time-sensitive offers or benefits from starting now versus later. Obviously, one of the benefits inside of our structure is that they have an opportunity to benefit from additional people that you sign up, all right, inside of your business. But be careful. If you're going to say, hey, I'm going to sign up all these people, you better go do that. So don't make a commitment unless you're going to go follow through with it, because then people will be even more disappointed, okay, with that. Now, follow-up and persistence. Respect the decision. If the answer is no, respect it, but keep the door open for future discussions. Here's a way for someone says no to keep the door open. Hey, is it okay if I keep you informed? Hey, is it okay if I keep you informed? Most people will say yes to that if you're not, crazy pushy, right? Is it okay if I keep you informed? Now, why is that an important thing? Because that way you can, hey, the next time we have another trip, hey, remember when you said you want to go to Mexico? Just want to keep you informed. We got another trip to Mexico. Hey, remember when you so hey, holidays are coming up. Look, Black Friday, we got this crazy Black Friday spiel. I just wanted to keep you informed in case you want to do some holiday shopping with us. Blah, 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 blah. All right, can I keep you informed? Okay. The next one is consistent follow-up. Follow up periodically with new information, success stories, and changes in the offer that may address their initial objection. Somebody says, hey, I don't got the money. It's like, well, hey, listen, we got this special now. Could come back to that. But follow-up training, we're going to do another one on that. We've got the Fort Knox in a box. And then next week, I believe we're going to do, it will be a larger segment on that, because having a systematic follow-up process when we talk about is very, very important. Now, that's not too much of today's training, but we're going to focus more on objections today. Now, closing with confidence. Confidence is key. Be confident in your presentation and in your product, in your service. Assure support. Emphasize the support system that they will have once they join. Make it clear that they won't be alone in their journey. These are very important points when people are going to see is the nervousness a lot of times that people have about closing translates to people going, can I believe in this person and what I'm joining? And then so it gets misconstrued a lot of the times. They need to know that you're confident. Now, for me, what I mean is there's this sense of I'm going with or without you. Okay. So I don't, and it's not like yeah, I don't want to call it like this FOMO, FOMO, which is fear of missing out, right? That's what FOMO stands for, in case some of you guys didn't know, for the kids these days. So fear of missing out, there is a little bit of that, but I don't necessarily mean that. What I mean is this: if I'm talking to somebody that's kind of on the fence and say, hey, listen, so I want you to join me on this journey. I believe it's going to be incredibly beneficial for you. Right. So I want you to know that I'm here for you, but I'm also not, I'm going with or without you, because this train is going 300 miles an hour east and I'm jumping on it and I want you to come with me. So if you want to jump on now, if you want to go crawl, walk, run with this, I'm okay with whatever pace you want to go at, but let's get you in and then we can get you going. Right. So the next is, lastly, is role playing in practice. So, okay, you can mock objection handling. So practice with one of your teammates, practice with one of your ambassadors here, and refine these skills to build confidence. How you get good at things usually in life, you practice. So if your objections are not something, practice with a workout partner, practice with a friend, practice with one of your teammates, practice with your upline and say, hey, listen, I really want to get better at objections. Let's practice. Okay. So continuous learning, regularly updating this is going to be super, super, super important. Okay. So that's all the greeny side of it. So did you guys get that down? You got some presentations, you got some tips, you got some stuff. Yes. Give me some thumbs up. It's making sense. Giving you guys some pieces here. Now, before we jump into some of the actual objections, because this is kind of one of my fun things that I like to do, and give some examples, and then we'll do a little bit of role playing here. So in doing this, where I'll call on some of you guys, I'll have you give me the objection and I'll kind of role play it with you. So you can kind of see how I might do it in this. Now, going back to the very beginning, if you're brand new, I don't expect you to be a objection ninja, right? I learned how to overcome objections by doing the training we did last week by introducing people on three-way phone calls. That's how I learned. I learned how to overcome objections by building my business, not learning my business like this. It is by far the most effective way is when you listen to a leader overcome objections. All right, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's how you would do that makes more sense. And then once I listened to 20, 30 of them, I was like, oh, okay, it's kind of the same things, right? You kind of hear a lot of the same ones, right? I want to give you a couple other kind of ideas or feelings or concepts when it comes to overcoming objections that I believe are wildly beneficial when it comes to it. One of the first ways that I ever heard about overcoming objections not only was asking better questions and asking closing questions and all that type of stuff, but I also heard the expression when I was very new was to use something called tennis. Okay, right? So now, has anyone ever played tennis before? You ever played tennis? Anyone ever seen tennis? I can see you guys. I don't know if you guys. Okay, good. All right. All right. So you got a net, right? You got a person. Okay, right? So you got another person. Okay, right? And they got a racket, right? This is my racket. You guys like my drawings? My drawings are really good, right? You like these? So, okay. So, and what's the point of tennis? Is to hit the ball to the other side of the net, right? Now, what's the point of that person? Is to do what? Hit the ball back, right? And then do what? Hit the ball back, back, until somebody messes up, right? I mean, that's the whole point of tennis, right? I'm oversimplifying it slightly, but I think you guys get the concept. So when I was first taught to overcome objections, when I was brand new, I almost just ended the meeting. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that. So I trying to close the second screen and I almost just kicked you guys out. So that's a great way to end an objection. Hang up on them. Okay. Now, it's actually not a bad one, by the way. So if you ever get caught somewhere in something and you don't know what to do, just hang up and then text them back and be like, I'm so sorry, I lost service. I'll call you later. And then you can call one of us. What do I do? So it's not a joke. I've done it. I've been there. So when I was brand new and I was like, okay, I don't even like overcoming objections. One of the easiest ways for me in the beginning that helped, not in all cases, but it worked quite a few times actually for me, was this game of tennis, which is just kind of repeat the objection, but repeat the objection with a face that makes you like, I don't understand what you're saying. Right. So, okay. And, like almost confusion. Right. So, and what it does is this, is that when someone gives you an objection and then you ask a question, it puts the ball back in their court. Now, in the beginning, I didn't know what questions to ask. So one way to ask a question is just to repeat it as if it's a question. And I know this sounds kind of silly, but in the very beginning, this helped me dramatically in the very beginning. So a good example says, oh man, So I just don't have any time. It's like they just hit the ball into your court, and then you could just you just hit him back. You're like, don't have any time. And it's almost kind of like, you ever see puppies when they get confused, when they look at you and they kind of tilt their head and they're like, oh, right? Everyone do me a favor, do that real quick. Oh, yeah. That's great. I should have this little video. Okay. Now, some people, depending on the person, I'm like, it's like, is the confusion mixed with a little bit of like, are you stupid? Or is it, sometimes it might be literally like, like, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what you just said or why that was an objection. And then it's back in their court. Now they have to respond. It's great, so it's great. Now, I don't have any time. Yeah, well, I'm just so busy. So busy. Now you could add a little bit more to that. So busy. You binge watched whatever last week. You just told me. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to add the little ad lib in there. You could just literally check. Oh man, this looks like one of those things. One of those things. Well, yeah, I mean, like, we're only the people at the top make money. And you're like, only the people at the top make the money. Well, I mean, and it's like, so there's a little bit of this. Now, I'm telling you, in the very beginning, when I didn't know what question to ask, I used this and it was fun. Now, here's the thing. Some of these people didn't ever sign up. Of course, many of them didn't. But at least it wasn't like they hit it to me and they were like, hey, is this? And I'm like, like I'm floundering around being a weirdo, because I don't know what to do, right? So this gave me a little bit of confidence as if somebody said something and I just didn't know what, I would just ask them to, well, what are you talking about? Or what did you mean by that? And clarify it. So that was one way, first off. Second thing is this, and I want to let you guys know, is when somebody's looking to make a decision or an objection, here's one of the things that a lot of them need in the very beginning, is they need a level of confidence from you that this decision that they're going to make, that they are not alone in this decision. A lot of the people, this is the hesitancy of going like, is this the right decision to make? Okay. Now, I help people through this process. There are two types of people that go to a pool, two types of kids, right? So, two types of kids, there's one type of kid who gets to the pool where, let's say the water is a little bit cold. Okay. And they go up to the pool and they dip their toe in the water. And generally speaking, they're like, oh, it's cold. And, mom's dad, like, get in the pool. You're fine. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. You'll adjust, you'll warm up. So what do? They put their feet in and they're like, and then they acclimate and then they put in their next, and then they go to the next step. How many of you guys know kids who do this, right? So, and they get in and then eventually they get in the pool, right? Now it might take them a little while. Now there's a second type of kid. Some of you are these kids. Some of you have these kids, where by the time they see the pool, they are sprinting to the pool. And mom is yelling out, stop running. And they're like, I'm not running. And then it's, cannonball, and then they're in the pool, right? Now, in this, it's cold for them too, but then they acclimate really quickly and then they're ready to go and then they're off playing, right? So now, let me ask you a question. What's the best way to get in the pool? Okay. Yeah, all you psychos are like, just jump in. Yeah, I know, I got it. Here's the answer. To me, whatever gets them in the pool. There are some people, if the only way to get in the pool is to jump in, they ain't never getting in. You ain't getting them. You're not getting them in. There are some people that the only way you're getting them into Viago is not by getting them jumping into the deep end of the pool and going all in and giving their all. Now, you might be the person that you're all in with us with Viago and you're excited and you're ready and you understand that this commitment and this future and what it can do for you because of the things you've seen, the things you've felt, the people you've met, the understanding you have of what we're building. But the person you're asking to do this right now has never been to a convention, who's never been around our community, never been on an escape before, who's never saved on a daily deal with us before, and you're asking them to spend $500 to get started, $99 a month, with potential and a hope that it's going to be something that's good for them. And for many of them, the hesitancy is maybe I've tried something before and it hasn't worked. I've been burned before. The water's been freezing before, right? I got in a pool before and I didn't like it. So how many of you guys get this concept, right? So there's a hesitancy there. And sometimes what we do is we go, come on, you're going to jump in with me, right? And granted, there are people that maybe giving them that extra push is a good idea. However, for me, sometimes getting him in the pool is not going to be trying to throw him into the deep end. So it's like, I'm not trying to get him to be married to Viago. We're just going on a first date. Let's see. Let's start the process. Let's see if it feels good and see if he feels, so what are we going to do? Listen, forget the deep end of the pool. Come over here. Come over here to the shallow end of the pool. Let's just put your feet in. Let's put your feet. How's that feel? It feels pretty good, right? So we get them acclimated a little bit. They feel good. They come to an RTE, they're pretty good. And then it's like, well, how does this feel? And then once they get waist deep, you can kick them in, no, I'm just kidding. Sort of. But usually once they're halfway, it's like, come on, shit, or get off the pot, right? But once you're there, okay, it's usually two types of people. Somebody's either ready to jump in or there's a hesitancy. And if there's a hesitancy, my goal is going, well, how do I get them in a little bit? How do I get them in a little bit? How do I get them in a little bit? And I use this analogy quite frequently, guys, where I'm talking about, listen, so I'm so excited about this because I see this as my future, right? So, and I get that. Now, for you, obviously, it might not be there. I'm not asking you to get married to Viago like I am, right? So listen, well, let's go on a date. Let's see how it works. Let's take a trip together. See if you like us. If you like us, you can continue. If you don't, you don't, right? So you don't have, it's no long-term commitment, no long-term contract. Worst case scenario. By the way, this is a great one for hesitancy. Worst case scenario, paint it for them. Most people are always thinking about what bad could happen, right? What's the bad? So paint it for them. Listen, what's worst case scenario? You spend 500 bucks. You go on a trip, you get 100 bucks in product credit, you write it off on your taxes, and you never talk about this again. That's like worst case scenario, right? If you give them worst case scenario and it doesn't sound that bad, all of a sudden the decision to get started makes it a little bit easier. So these are a few things when it comes to building out and objections and kind of helping somebody through this and closing that I can help you guys with. Now, what I do want to do is let's throw a few things in here and see into the chat box. So here's what I want, and hopefully I can do this fast enough. I probably will be able to, but I'm going to do my best. If you have an objection, all right, that you can think of, let's throw it in the chat box. Let's see if we can find any, like, what are some of the common objections that we hear inside of our business? And if you want to type them into that chat. So obviously time is going to be one of them. Money is going to be another one. I don't have the time. I don't got the money. I need to talk to my wife or my spouse, right? So that's a good one, right? So need to talk to my partner, right? So I want to see more. I want to see more of what you offer. I want to see more. That's an easy one. You just kind of book and show them more. Hard time to stop and give you time to. I hardly have time to stop and give you time to check this out. So I have no time to even look. Okay, I'll give you some things on this. It's a pyramid. Again, I don't know how to sell. I don't know how to sell. There's a good one. I got to pray about it. Okay, so I got to pray about it. These are good. Is this for real or another scam? So I don't know. What did you get scammed by before? So scam. Is it real? How much have you made? How much have you made? Okay, so how much have you made? I got to get my finances situated, right? So that's like, I don't have the money. I don't want to be a salesperson. All right, we got that. My company has to approve everything I do. My company has to approve. Approve. Ooh, that's a good one, right? So I already get discounts, so I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable. I make six figures. I've heard that one. Already make six figures, right? 100K, whatever it is. I get discounts, right? I don't have time to take trips. No time for trips. Too good to be true, too good to be true. Okay, too good to be true. I maybe Googled you, or maybe somebody says, oh, there's bad reviews. Okay, right. So these are just simple objections. I heard network marketing was predatory. There's a whole community out there against it with their own conventions of stuff. Whoa, that's aggressive. Hate MLM. Okay, right. So I'm just going to put that on there as a discussion. Let me ask my financial advisor. I'm going to put that on here. I want to, but I'm already in an MLM. I'm in an MLM. Oh, these are good, guys. I got good stuff for a lot of these. So I have a timeshare. Get out. No, anyway, sorry. That was me talking to me. That was me talking to me. So I have a timeshare. I mean, there's how much are your maintenance fees? So getting in a great, use it. So so I did MLM before, did MLM before, no success, right? Something like that. I know someone that I know someone who does something like this. Okay. So I don't do travel like that. Okay. I'm already a rep for another product that conflicts. Okay. I need to talk to my spouse and I'm planning trips. Okay. I think I got a lot of the ones. If there's any other, I'm a travel agent. Perfect. So okay, so great. So yeah, perfect. So you understand the industry really well. That's perfect. So let me ask you a question. How much money do you make when you don't book travel? Nothing. Great. Here you can earn residuals and build a team of people. I don't want to be in a group. Okay, so don't. So go on the trip and don't go to the fun activities. So, okay. Also, then just use the other pieces. Anyway, all right. So perfect. These are great. Okay, so let me go through a few of these that I think are kind of fun and simple and give you guys some answers. By the way, once again, there's no catch-all. There's no one size fits all when it comes to objections, and there's no one way to handle it. I gave you kind of some of the concepts and some of the theories on this that I think are important on this. But again, there isn't a one size fits all, and our membership and the value behind our membership goes far beyond what we do here with trips or group trips or travel or things like that. So on this, but let me give you a few here that I think that have helped me, that were actually have worked pretty well for me. And over the past 22 years, man, so I've heard most of these. Now, some of you guys are giving me objections that for me, it means I am not interested in talking to this person anymore. I'm just letting you guys know. If somebody gives me a harsh objection towards something that seems of no interest, for me, it's not an objection, it's a rejection, which is fine. I don't have a problem being rejected. Totally cool. If somebody's a no, they're a no, and they're sometimes going to use something as a complete no, right? So, which is fine. Now, time. Now, from time, here's an interesting one on time. Somebody says, I don't have any time. Here's a question that I asked. How long has that been the case? How long has that been the case? So how long has not having time been the case for you? So let me ask you a question. Again, objections are answering questions or asking questions. Said, if you keep doing what you're doing for the next year, 2 years, 5 years from now, are you going to have any more time? Do you like not having any time? I was like, well, do you have a plan to change that? If not, then you're just going to keep having no time. So in a year from now, and I ask you, hey, do you want to go on a trip? You're going to say you have no time. Is that what you want? Now, depending on how aggressive I can be if it's my friend versus if it's cold market or something, right? So you could do the same thing with money. Hey, I don't have the money. I say, how long has that been the case? How long has it been the case of not having an extra couple $100? If you keep doing what you're doing in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now, is that still going to be the case? Listen, I'm just offering you a solution. And for me, I'm not attached to you doing this. If you don't want to, if it's not of interest to you, it's not of interest to you. I'm not here to convince you. But at the same time, what you're telling me is your excuse not to do it, I believe is the reason why you should. Your reason for not doing it and not looking is the reason why I believe you really should, because I believe this can give you something as a way out. Now, if you're not interested in that and you're happy with no time and you're happy with no money, now I'm not going to be aggressive on it. So with that, But, what you're telling me is this. Now, if you're just a no and you're telling me you don't have time as a polite way of saying no, I'll give people the out, right? So I need to see more. Great, show them more, right? So I don't even have time to look. That usually means just no, no, no. That's usually what that means, right? So pyramid, let me address that one here in a little bit. I mean, today, if someone's saying there's a pyramid scheme, I mean, that is just the ignorance behind that is kind of crazy today, so, and I'm usually not going to take the time to educate somebody on that unless they're like, is this one of those things? So, I'm going to usually just divert on. It's like, look, there's no business owner on the planet that will tell you. Now, there are people that don't like MLM, but for somebody to tell you that they think it's not real or doesn't work or is a scam is so stupid. Now, I'm not going to say that to their face. But unless somebody's really mean or aggressive, then it's like, I mean, come on, man. So now usually what I'll do is this. So it's like, you mean like if they're like is this one of those pyramid schemes? And now I'll choose a bigger company at the rep. I was like, you mean like Mary Kay? Well, no, not like them. Oh, well, they're direct sales. You mean like, you mean like Prime America? You mean like Legal Ship? So you mean like Avon? Oh, no, not like that. Well, this is the newer version of that, just but an online digital affiliate model. Right now, I could even show them how Amazon has a multi-level payout on their programs and their affiliate. I can show them whatever I want. Again, most of the time, I'm just not even going to go into it. Now, if somebody says something, well, only the people at the top make the money or something like that, then I'm going to say like, well, let me ask you a question. Where do you work? Because that's an employee who's saying stuff like that usually. So it's like, okay, great. Who makes more money? The people at the top of your company or the bottom of your company? Well, the top. So isn't being on top probably a good thing? Great. How many people do you know that have worked at the bottom of a company that have gone to the top of the company who own that company? I'll wait, right? Because usually when the owner dies or passes away, it goes to the SOB next to him, which is the son of the boss. Right? So, okay. So now in this case here, you can build your own distribution affiliate network and build it out and grow. Now, look, if that's not your thing, it's not your thing. Again, I'm not trying to convince people that are not open and looking. So anyway, moving on from that. I don't know how to sell. Perfect. We're not here for you to be salespeople. We're here for you to be able to share your experiences. This is one of those things. I say, look, we're not looking for salespeople. If we were looking for salespeople, I wouldn't be talking to you because obviously you're not in sales. So, all right. So here's our business. Our business is a referral business. It's not a sales business. And what I mean by a referral business is the same way that, hey, if you went on a trip and you posted about your trip and your savings and people asked you about it and they wanted to buy it, great. If you eat at a good restaurant, you tell people. If you go to a great movie, you tell people, right? If you went on a great trip and you told people about it and they wanted to purchase it, you would be a salesperson. Now, depending on, I'll make some jokes on sales is this, right? So especially if it's a guy, usually I'll kind of, if a guy's married and I was like, so not in sales. Oh, come on, man. So listen, you're married, look, you've dated, you're in sales. You got married, you got sold, bro. So, so look, that's my jokey way of talking about, sales or whatever it is. But also at the same time, I was like, look, yeah, our business is based on referrals and we have a system to teach you that, where you sharing the information. You're not going out there trying to, here's where most people are afraid of. They're afraid they're gonna have to go try to convince people because somebody tried to convince them to do something and it turned them off. So unfortunately, we have to combat a group of people that did this business model very wrong. And because they did it very wrong, we get associated with people who did it poorly, right? So there's that. Now, all right. So how much money have you made? I was like, well, listen, so how much money have you saved? Here's where you can go into this. Here's how much money I've saved. Because again, I'm not trying to get them to come in as like how they're going to use their membership and how they're going to use their program is enough for them to join. If they can see how much money they're going to save by joining the program from being a part of it, necessarily if they're going to make, they say it. But also, here's where you need to step up to the plate. If you are going to go pitch people on how this opportunity is really great, then you need to, proof is in the pudding, right? And meaning like go bust it for 30 days and have $1,000 a month. Go sign up 6 people with our pack of 150, you make $1,000 and be like, well, listen, so I've been, I joined this company as a member. Let me help you guys. Oh God, I got so much good stuff for you guys. Is this good? Is this valuable? Is this helping you guys? Okay. So, all right. Let me help you with this. Many of you Okay, so I'm actually going to pull off the screen here because I think this is an important one. Many of you joined but weren't building, but you think you were building. So you associate the time from joining as building, and you mistakenly promote that as how long you've been in Secret or Viago. Let me explain. Okay. So let me explain. All right. If you haven't been doing presentations weekly or daily, you're a member. You're not an ambassador. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a member, but just because you show up to a training like this does not mean you're building the business. It means you're a member that has the potential to do the business. Good example. If I own a gym membership and I don't go to the gym, and somebody says, well, how long have you owned a gym membership? And, how come, show me your muscles. And it's like, well, I mean, I own a membership, but I haven't been going. You wouldn't be like, well, I've been going to the gym for 2 years. No, you haven't, right? Now, if you go to the gym and high five your friends and leave the gym, also no result. Some of you, that's what you do in Viago, right? You come to the training, you high five everybody, and you don't do the business. And so there's no result. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? The problem is in our brain psychologically, we're like, I've been in Secret for a year. I've been in Viago for a year. No, you haven't. You haven't been doing it for a year. You've been a member for a year, right? So here's how you differentiate that when somebody says, well, how much are you making? Is differentiate your member time versus your building time. So listen, I've been a member for a year and I've used the membership this way and this way and this way, and it saved me this much and this much and this month. And I've had so much fun. It's been one of the best experiences of my life. And then I got serious about building the business as a Viago last month, and I made $300 last month, $300 last week. $300, so here's what I made, but you got to go out there and make that happen. Now, if you're like, look, I'm just excited about this because I'm a member and what I'm savings and here's what it is. But if you want to meet the people that are making money doing this, let me introduce you to them because I'm just really a member. I haven't been building it much, but I'm starting. The other thing that you can say is this, is be like, listen, I'm getting serious about building my, as an ambassador now. And together, I believe that we can crush this thing because I'm committed to making sure you do well because I have a vested interest. So the question isn't how much I've made, it's how much I can make you. Okay. So hopefully this is helping you guys again. So there's some good stuff. This is good stuff, man. These are just, just goes to show how many times I've gone through these silly objections. All right. How much you made? My company has to approve everything I do. That sounds like slavery to me. No, just kidding. I don't know. Depending on the person, that's how I would say this. Again, you got to be careful a little bit here, but I'm like, really? Like, this is one of those where I would tennis it. Company has to approve everything I do. Everything you do? Like what you do in your bedroom, they have to approve? So like, this is where I would be like, everything you do, like, come on, bro. So, okay, so coming now, when it comes to business, they have to approve the membership. They have to approve the clubs you join. They have to approve your Netflix membership. They have to approve your subscription. They have to approve all that stuff. Well, no, they have to approve anything I do in business. Now, I do understand there are corporate jobs. For sure, there's a few of them, which is usually in a corporate place where they have something like that, right? So as a non this or non that. So I do understand, right? So that does happen. But if they're just joining as a member, then just get them in as a member. If they can't be an ambassador right now, then they can't be an ambassador, all right? So, but get them in as a member, have them use the membership, and then say, look, worst case scenario, look, become a member, refer me people, I'll kick you the commission. Okay, all right? So get them in. So whatever. Oh, I missed one over here. Spouse. I need to talk to my spouse, right? This is going to happen. Now, spouses are one of the easiest objections that people have, a polite way of saying no. So, which will happen. But say, well, listen, instead of you going home and trying to explain this to your spouse, here's what's better. Let's set an appointment. I'll come and get a chance to share it with your spouse. So that way you guys can see it together. I always try to book the appointment with the spouse if that's the excuse and or the reason. He's like, no, I'll explain it to her. I was like, listen, okay? And let's say if I was talking to Tim, I was like, Tim, I'm telling you right now, okay? So if she likes it, she'll like you. If she doesn't like it, she won't like me. I'm fine with that, right? So is this, if she doesn't like it, then it's you did the right thing as her husband. You brought this to her. And that way, if she likes it, it's a thing you guys did together. You brought her something great. If she doesn't like it, you did the right thing without joining. And then she can tell me no. And then it doesn't have to be on you. But let me present it. Look, if you want to do this and travel more with her, you're going to have a better opportunity. I don't want, so you don't have to try to do that. Now, sometimes they're like, no, 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 just all explain it to her. And I was like, look, I'm telling you, it's probably going to be a bad situation. So, and sometimes you're just never going to get past that one. But anyway, those are a few things that might help you with that. So now you could be more aggressive. And I said, listen, if it's a spouse, I was like, listen, do you think your spouse would mind if you bought her a gift? No. I was like, well, listen, you're basically buying her a trip and $100 in product credits. She can shop some world-class products if you do this. Now, if she doesn't want you to continue doing it, she doesn't want to continue doing it. But look, this is a gift you can give her. So when was the last time you brought her something home nice? And that has been a while. Yeah, well, here's a way for you to be able to do that. Hey, honey, here's $100 in product credit. Shop to your heart's desire. Now obviously, man to woman, woman to man is a little bit different. So anyway, take your picks on that. Discounts. So one of those things, my company has discounts. Great. Then you can promote a different part of our program, right? So if somebody says, well, my company already has this, or I wrote this down here and I don't even remember what I wrote. I have no time for trips. How long has that been the case? And I said, well, listen, we should definitely, well, what if you could get a staycation? I don't want to travel. I don't like to travel like that. Well, then promote the daily deals, promote the teledoc, to promote these other programs. So, or better yet is like, well, do you have a family member that could use the benefits of the membership toward this? But then I would do the same thing is like, then you can promote the products as well. There's a back end side to that. Too good to be true. That's a good one. So too good to be true. Well, what if it was and you didn't find out? Ooh, too good to be true. I know. Look, I get it. Sometimes things sound too good to be true. And I'll explain it. It's like, look, here's the too good to be true. If you join and you do nothing, then nothing really happens. Now you can use the membership. I say so, but there are things in my life that were too good to be true. And for me, I was like, well, what if I didn't find out? That would be a mistake, right? So I got to pray about it. I've heard this one. I got to pray about it. I think about it. I was like, well, you've prayed before, right? So how do you know this isn't your answer? I mean, you think you're just going to drive down the road and see a big billboard that says "Do Viago, God"? You know what I mean? Like that's probably not how. At least that's not how he talks to me. I don't get those types of signs. So if you've been asking for something that give you more freedom or flexibility or more success or more options, I'm here. What's up? So, okay. All right. Now there's that. Bad reviews. Now this could be for anything, right? So, I looked up something online that was bad. And I was like, well, especially if someone has kids. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you put your kids in seatbelts? Put your kids in seatbelts? Yeah. I was like, did you know that there are seatbelts that kill children? Yes. And I was like, so are seatbelts bad? No. So now that's an aggressive analogy. You guys getting it? But the idea is like, look, if you want to look up anything, there's a bad review on anything. Is everything perfect? No. But listen, there's no bad reviews on Viago. We haven't launched Viago. Something. So that would be a weird thing to come up with right now. So, Viago's bad. I don't know what you're talking about. Like the thing hasn't even launched yet. So the only bad review potentially could have been the reward escape trip at the fives, but I don't even know where that would come from. But so there would be that. So from the past. Anyway, those are some of those things. I was like, so you believe everything you read online? And I was like, no, I'm just doing my research. And I was like, okay, good. Then do your research from people that are actual members. And then you can introduce them to somebody, so in that case. One of the big things, I hate MLM. We are definitely not for you. So all that other stuff. Now, if I want to have an intelligent conversation with somebody about MLM, in this conversation, I was like, look, I get it. There are some people that don't like what we do, right? So there's a lot of people that don't like religion either. There are groups of people that are violently opposed to organized government, organized religion, that are like believe that it is the worst thing you could possibly do with your time and your family and introducing. Of course it is. Now, are there bad sides to religious organizations that are run by people? Even if this, of course, we all know that, right? Are there incredibly beneficial things for those organizations? Yes. The question isn't whether or not religion is good or bad. The question whether or not, or organized religion, or your faith is good or bad, or MLM is good or bad is, does it fit for you? And it's like, look, go check it out. Take a look, feel it, right? Here's the thing that's impossible to debate. If it was that bad for people for 100 plus years, that was doing more business than the NFL, the NBA, and all sporting in the United States combined in business. And there are people that are voluntarily in these organizations. I'm not talking about the people that have made tons of buku bucks, right, in this. And it is federally regulated by the FTC in terms of what you can and cannot do in the government's United States in terms of how you run a successful MLM and the rules and regulations. If all of that is true, then there's some part of it that's got to be amazing, and there might be some parts of it that you don't like. But it's impossible for you to have an outside perspective on that. Now, again, this is for somebody I'm not even trying to convince them. All right, I need to talk to my financial advisor. So if you need to talk to your financial advisor, great. Do you have a home-based business that you can write things off? If the answer is no, your financial advisor should be advising you to sign up for a home-based business. If your financial advisor does not advise you to sign up for a home-based business to write off things, you need a new financial advisor. Okay, so anyway, I've done MLM before, all right, didn't make any money, right? So, or something like that. Or I tried this before. There's a few different things depending on this that I always find funny. So I was like, hey, have you ever gotten sick from eating? You ever gotten like food poisoning? And they're like, well, yeah, usually. And I'm like, well, did you stop eating? No, you didn't stop eating, right? Why? Just because you got some bad food, right? Now, what am I relating? I'm relating a bad experience with something they did to an action that they should continue doing, right? So look, I get you had a bad experience, but here's a couple things that I do is points of clarification. Somebody says, it didn't work. I was like, well, tell me about it. What happened? Generally speaking, when you dig into what happened, here's what you'll find out. Most of the time, if they signed up, nobody worked with them, or they didn't work, is usually a lot of times what happened. I was like, well, what happened? I was like, oh yeah, I did this thing back in college. I joined Amway or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, what happened? I was like, yeah, I did it. I did it. Oh, how long did you do it? And I was like, oh, I don't know, like 6 months, all right. And I was like, oh, cool. So what was your experience like? Was it, good or bad or whatever it is, right? So we talked about these things. All this other stuff. And what they did was dive into it. Now, if somebody has a negative experience, and like, this is my favorite. So when they go, oh, MLM, blah, 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 whatever. And I'm always like, oh my God, it sounds like you got a story. Tell me all about it. If they've got, oh my God, it's just tell me all, oh yeah, my cousin, he did, and he just got weird. And I was like, really? Wow, what happened? He just kept calling me, and then all of a sudden he wanted me to, and then I'm like, wow, that sounds crazy. Yeah, we don't do that. I don't know what happened to I don't know why your friend got weird. We go on trips, and we have a little sign. I mean, I don't know if you think the sign is weird, but that's what we do. It's kind of fun, So, I mean, we have some weird people, but they're kind of cool. So anyway, it's something you check out. Now, I like that kind of story thing. Now, I'll give you one more thing here where it says, I'm already in an MLM. Ooh, here's a good one. I'll give you another MLM one because you're prospecting, you're going to hear this. And then we'll wrap it up because we've been here for over an hour. But I'm hoping you got some juicy stuff here today. I don't have time for role playing because I got to get onto my next meeting, which they're already waiting for me for. We'll hopefully we'll add it to one of our training weeks. Is this someone's in an MLM? This is something that helped me. In the beginning, I used to do this whole like, I'll join yours, you're join mine thing. And I stopped doing that. If you want to do that, that's your thing. Great. For me now, granted, if they have a great product that you want that we don't have and or sell, buy their product. Support a fellow person that's in direct sales that's building, right? We don't sell makeup. Go support the Avon or the Mary Kay lady. Like instead of big box retail, like be a fan of the industry, right? So now I'm not joining as a distributor, but be a customer. I'm a customer of many products in this amazing industry that I'm in love with. We don't have one. If there's only one good network marketing company, then like what? What? It bothers me when companies do things terribly and then end up impacting the entire industry that we're a part of because of stupidity, right? But there are beautiful companies in this industry that with great owners and great products that are in this marketplace. Now, of course, I'm biased because of the stuff that we offer because it's mine, right? And it's the what I get a chance to offer. But keep that in mind. So I've got a few from this space, right? So anyway, I'm not going too deep into that. However, so I stopped doing the whole because what I found out it was like all of a sudden when I was doing that, it was like, oh, you buy mine, I buy yours, and all of a sudden I'm on an auto ship from like 15 freaking companies, and I'm like, now I'm literally making $0 because I'm not. If I'm spending $100 with them, they're spending $100 with me. I'm making this much, but I'm spending 100. That didn't make any sense, right? So I stopped doing that unless I just wanted to be a customer. I was like, look. So here's my approach, and it worked really well for me. So I'm going to use Shar in this one. Okay, let's say Shar is in a she sells hair dye in her MLM, pink hair dye, right? So and I'm like, well, I don't really have a good use for that product. She's like, but you know people with hair, right? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, look, Shar, look, it sounds like here's my question. Are you married to your company or are you married to your goals? This is my question. Are you married to your company or married to your goals? A lot of people are in a company because they're trying to get to their goals. And I just ask them, I was like, oh no, I'm excited about this. Okay, great. Look, Shar, it sounds like you're married to your company, So me too. I'm Viago for life, right? So it sounds like you're the hair dye for life, whatever their company is, right? So okay, I'll say, look, tell you what, okay, let's keep in touch, okay, and let's see what happens. I'll make you a promise. If I ever decide to leave Viago, if I ever decide to leave Viago, I promise you, you'll be one of my first phone calls because obviously I'll be looking for something. I promise you, I'll be one of my first phone calls. But got to make you a deal. If you ever decide to leave XYZ company, or you ever decide look for something else, you got to promise me I'm your first phone call. And guess what? They always, oh yeah, they always say yes, right? So they're always like yes. And then all you got to do is outlast them because they all usually quit. Boom, right? So, and I'm telling you, it is all I can't even tell you how many people they're in their deal, they're excited, they're super pumped. You know how many people prospected me after I did an announcement of launching Viago, of pitching me their business? And be like, hey man, did you leave secret? Are you open? I'm like, and I want to be like, you're joking, right? But I'm like, oh, look, sounds like you're so happy with your look. I'm married to what I'm launching. I'm super excited about with Viago. It sounds like you're happy with whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was like, look, tell you what, if I ever decide to leave Iago, I promise I will give you a buzz. And then I put him in my prospect list. And then if you ever decide to leave, blah, 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 just promise me I'm one of your first phone calls. And let's just touch base every year and see how each other are doing. We can cheer each other on. Because genuinely, I want them to win in their deal. Genuinely, I don't want them to fail. I want lots of success stories in our industry because that is proof and validation for this amazing place, right? And we need to be better than and bigger than the inner rival. We got enough of the world to fight inside of direct sales and network marketing. We don't need to be fighting amongst each other. Now, there are people who do stupid stuff. I'm not talking about that, right? But if they want to go build, go build. I said, look, and let's be in context. So these are simple things that can help you with these scenarios. So I just gave you guys a lot today, right? Okay. Now I'm going to finish up with this. Let me wrap this up, put a little bow on it for you. Can't really say the right thing to the wrong person, right? So, and I know sometimes this gets frustrating because you're like, man, if I would have done this better, if I would have done the presentation better, if I would have overcome the objection better, I would have got this person. And chances are maybe, but probably not. And even if that was the case, yes, you might lose some people from lack of skill in the beginning, but you'll make it up in numbers. But just understand that's part of the process and the growth. And what I want you guys to get is don't be so concerned about who says yes and who says no. Here's what you should be concerned about is not doing it enough. That's where the concern should be. How many people did I get a chance to go, hey, did you check it out, check it out, check it out, check it out, so you can get better at it? Because once you do it enough times, what seemed to be challenging, then once you do it in spaced repetition, becomes simple. The reason why I can go through objections, like I could do objections in my sleep, guys. I remember, it was no joke. I remember I was in the phone with one of my mentors. I was in the car with one of my mentors, and he was dead asleep. And he got a phone call, right? And I hit him on, and I was like, hey, you got a phone call. And he was like, oh, and he picked it up and he was like, hello? Yeah, yeah, I can do a three-way. And did the three-way, overcome objections, hung up the phone, went back to sleep. I swear to God, like an hour later, I woke up, I was like, did you know you did a three-way call while you were sleeping? He was like, I thought I was dreaming, man. And I was like, because once you do it again and again and again, it becomes habitual for you, right? Now, again, when I first got started, I remember getting hit with objections and feeling like I got punched in the gut. I remember going home to talk to my cousin. My cousin was like, "Oh my God, I can't even believe you got into one of those things. Those things are like aren't even real and blah. Just like when are you gonna go get a real job and blah blah. Just stupid stuff, right? You know." And I just remember like, like it felt like so terrible. Now, if somebody were to tell me, I want you to think about it, if you were making $20,000 a month residually, passively, right? So, and somebody gave you the objection that they gave you, well, how would you respond? Now, if you think in that mentality now, it just allows you to stand in a better place. When somebody gives me, well, I don't know if this thing's gonna work. I'm like, I don't know either, man. It seems to be working pretty good, right? So, okay, peace out or Viago out. Right? So, but at the beginning, that was not the case. It's going to be a process. So give yourself some grace on this journey as you go through this and understanding that you're going to it. But what I do want you to know unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, that if you practice these skills over a period of time, you will be good at them. It's not a question of if you will be. The only question is did you do enough repetitions to be strong through these process to get it into where the point where it's like you eat objections for breakfast. You know, you're just like, bring me more no's, bring me more haters, because the old ones are boring me. Like that's the type of mentality that some of you guys will step into as we're launching Viago. So guys, it has been a pleasure being with you these last few weeks. I don't know that you'll see me for the next couple as we're getting aggressively after this. I'll be in Thailand on the escape with a great group of people at our property in Phuket next week. But as we've been following this program and understanding the exposure process, the three-way phone calls, the third party to the objection process of understanding, all of these are just ways and skills to help you guys, because every one of you can walk that stage in Vegas by getting into the top 10 with your points. And that should be on your goal list. Even if it's not on your goal list, put it on your dream list. Okay. So of going, all right, I'm going to go after this and do it. I appreciate you guys. I can't wait to see all the announcements coming with you guys on September 7th at the regionals. And then I cannot wait to see you guys in 50 days in Vegas as we go launch the biggest thing that's going to hit this space ever in the history of direct sales. Viago out.